Hello and welcome to InSight. I'm Wendy Brokaw.
And I'm Ross Sutherland.
We're going to be talking today about a remarkable exhibit and a remarkable human being, Russell Childers. With Jonathan Bucci, he is the collections curator for Halliford Museum of Art, and currently they are showing the work of this woodcarver who has a remarkable story. It's the Russell Childers Oregon Outsider exhibit, and thank you, by the way, very much for finding the time to come in.
Sure, thank you.
For those of you who don't know about Russell, he was a self-taught artist who spent 39 years of his life in a Salem, Oregon institution for the developmentally disabled. It was there he began wood carving, and we take the story from there because you're going to be seeing some beautiful work, and I want them to know his story. Tell me about Russell.
Russell was deaf and did not speak, and he also was most likely autistic, although at the time that wasn't the diagnosis that had been given to him. He was determined to have a developmental disability, and at that time in Oregon and in most parts of the country, children who had the disabilities like Russell had could be sent to live in a state institution, removed from their family's care and sent there. Mm-hmm. So that's what happened to Russell. It's not clear exactly what the event was that led to his institutionalization, but he was sent in the mid-1920s to live at Fairview, and he lived there for, as you said, 39 years. Mm-hmm. In the mid-1960s, the state started reviewing patients that have been living at Fairview for a long time, trying to make decisions about whether or not those patients needed to continue, living under state care. There was a movement towards community care, community-based care organizations. Mm-hmm. And so in the mid-1960s, Russell ended up being released to live in Lebanon, Oregon, and work at the Willamette Valley Rehabilitation Center, mm-hmm. which is a nonprofit that still exists today. Part of the catalyst for his release was his abilities related to his mm-hmm. wood carving. It was recognized that he had this talent, and if he was released, he could build on this talent. And so that's what they helped him do at the rehab center. They provided support for his wood carving efforts. They gave him space to work. They gave him an opportunity to sell his work in the shop and tried to help him find exhibitions. But also related to his hearing, they fitted him with hearing aids, and it turned out that he could hear. So at around age 50, he started to learn to speak. He didn't speak prior to that. He learned to read. He learned to write, and that was all through support within the community at Fairview. They didn't provide that sort of education or assistance.
We're going to be seeing a video right now that shows you just a little bit about the exhibit. We went there, and I have to tell you, it's pretty moving stuff. When we talk about, he didn't talk about his experiences much from what I understand, but it's shown through his work. Let's take a look at that video, shall we?
Russell Childers was an outsider artist, self-taught outsider artist from Oregon. He's a wood carver and spent 39 years living at Fairview Home, Oregon Fairview Home here in Salem, which was a state institution for the developmentally disabled. Russell was sent to Fairview when he was 10 years old. A lot of children at the time who had developmental disabilities were sent to state institutions. It was not just in Oregon, it was all over the country. There's not a set diagnosis of what Russell's disabilities were, but he did not hear and he did not speak for 40 years, the whole time he was at Fairview. So when he was released from Fairview in the mid-60s, he was fitted with hearing aids, and he could hear with the help of hearing aids. The Willamette Valley Rehabilitation Center helped him learn to speak, helped him learn to read, and helped him learn to write. So this is all at age 50 plus that he learned to do all of this. That is also at the same time when the work really started taking off as well. The freedoms that came with being released from the institution really impacted his life, tremendously. The exhibition is organized thematically, so there are he's interested in autobiographical subject matter. He was interested in historical figures. events, and he was interested in animals, and specifically dogs, but other types of animals. The work that he made when he was released from Fairview that was based on the memories of his childhood or of his time at Fairview is particularly powerful. There's a sense of loss, there's a sense of lost childhood, separation from parents and family. It's really, it's something that I think a lot of people just have a visceral response to it. Now, Russell was a really kind, really gentle person, and he loved his life once he was out. He found peace and the ability to express himself, and he had a happy life once he was out of Fairview, and the folks down in Lebanon really helped with that.
Are people really moved by his work?
I would imagine they are moved seeing that.
It is. It's a really powerful exhibition, especially the autobiographical pieces that are in the show that relate to his memories from his childhood.
So this particular exhibit features more than just his autobiographical memories of his life at Fairview. Tell us about how you made it work.
It's a retrospective. So I tried to include early works all the way through to late works, and also show the range of subject matter that he carved. So there are a couple of pieces from the 40s and the 50s that were carved while he was still at Fairview, and then there's a selection of autobiographical pieces that deal with either memories of his childhood or memories from Fairview. There are also, he was interested in historical figures, so there are a number of historical and Western themed subject matters. There's a saloon scene.
And quite an amusing one too, it's great.
There's a bust of John F. Kennedy. There's a depiction of the flag raising at Iwo Jima, so there's some kind of classic historical images, and then he was also interested in animals, and so there are a number of different animals. He carved a lot of dogs, and so there's a selection of dogs. There's a wonderful moose that he carved. Also on the bottoms of all the pieces, he carves information about when he started the piece, when he finished the piece, and sometimes content, about what the piece is representing.
Wouldn't that be great to have that for every piece of art?
Yeah, but tell me about just how good he was, because wood carvers themselves collected his work, and can you give us a sense of just what is amazing about his work? We'll have some pictures here to show that.
Sure. Yeah, Russell was actually some of the first people who discovered Russell once he was released from Fairview were other wood carvers, and there are a number of pieces in the exhibition that were collected by a wood carver from Southern Oregon named Richard Troon. There's one piece in particular where it shows Russell and his mother holding hands. It's a depiction of his memory of the day that he was brought to Fairview by his mother, and there's just a real technical mastery in the way he handles the wood in that piece. There's even the mother's skirt, which is patterned, is actually
little polka dot type things. Yeah.
Polka dotted pattern is actually all inlaid.
I was struck by the fact that the little boy, with being held, his hand held by the mother, he has on almost a grimace smile on his face, you might think, but at the same time, an excitement. He thought he was going someplace exciting.
That's interesting, because that piece is very joyful. When you look at it, the little boy looks very happy, and although
but his mother looks so grim.
Mother looks stern.
Mother looks not happy
Don't
camper.
Don't mess with me. Yeah, she was, and the mother was concerned. She was Lydia. His mother's name was Lydia, and she was concerned about her son being taken from her. And there were letters with her communicating to the superintendent about how she had sent clothes to Russell, hadn't heard from him. She was concerned about how he was doing and those things, and she died just a few years after Russell was sent to Fairview.
Oh.
What about the rest of his life after he was out of Fairview? People were going to ask naturally.
Sure.
Was it all right for him? Was he okay?
Yes. Russell, from everything I can gather from the interviews that were in newspapers over the years with Russell in the 70s and 80s, and talking to people who knew him, Russell was very content and very happy. He had he liked to carve, and that's how he spent his time, and they provided him the space and the support to do that. He also enjoyed the recognition that he received. In the late 1970s, the University of Oregon organized a traveling exhibition of his sculptures.
Wonderful.
That traveled for 2 years, and that really helped to raise his recognition in the region.
And how can people learn more about Halliford Museum? Because it is a treasure trove of artwork and genres. Can you give us a thumbnail sketch of that before we go? Because
Sure.
I think if you haven't been there, you should go.
Sure. Well, the museum focuses on regional art, so we have permanent collections of modern and contemporary art from the Pacific Northwest. We also have a permanent collection and exhibition of Native American art from the Northwest region. And we have a survey collection and a gallery dedicated to art from all different cultures around the world, from ancient Egypt to 19th century French painting. So.
And we have the information on our screen right now, showing where you can get in touch with Halliford Museum and all that information. Jonathan, thank you very much for taking time with us today.
Sure, thank you.
It's just a fabulous exhibit, and I'm so glad you put it together in this particular way so that you could share it with everyone. They could all enjoy it. And thank you for enjoying InSight with us today. We'll see you again.